Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please give them a resounding round of applause. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Welcome to GUDC 2024. Welcome to Ogwaman. I think the entire UCC deserves a round of applause for being magnanimous enough to welcome us. This year's GUDC's theme is the traditional and contemporary contest of debate, exploring the intersection. On this note, I shall welcome Michael Dankwa to give us the opening prayer so we can begin the ceremony.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Please, shall we all close our eyes for a word of prayer? Most gracious and everlasting Father, we thank you this early morning for what you have done for us. We thank you for uniting us all together for one common purpose. And we pray that, Father, whatever needs to be achieved today, you will do it to your glory, and everything will go on smoothly and successfully. In the name of Jesus, I've prayed with thanksgiving. Amen.
Thank you so much, Michael. Can we all please stand up and take the UCC anthem, the school anthem? Kindly let's be on our feet as we take the school's anthem. Wow. I think the entire UCC deserve a very big round of applause, especially Hanif. Please give it up for Hanif. It's good to improvise. Wow. So this morning we have royal guests among us and also distinguished guests from the school and far. And so I shall like to introduce them. We have in person Nana Benyi Amua, the Omankrado of Ogwa traditional area. Please let's put our hands together for him. We have in our midst Nana Kojo Abeka, Chief of Eswechu and Anto Eswechu. He's also the Ankobiahin of Ogwa Traditional Council. And then we have Professor Daniel Apak, Dean of Student Affairs, UCC. We also have Professor De Valera Botri, Department of History and Diplomacy. Dr. Austin, fortunately I can't mention the last name. Okay. Lieutenant, all right. Dr. Austin, Lieutenant, Director of Sport and Wellness. All right, thank you so much, sir. And then we have Madam Catherine Asario, upon Principal Organizer. All right, thank you so much. We will now take the introduction of the chairperson, Hanif Sani, will do that for us. Please let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you all for gathering here from our training rooms to our prepping rooms. We finally gathered in the University of Cape Coast, #1 in West Africa, #1 in Ghana, such an impact in education, and #5 in Africa, 3 years in a row. I'm honored to introduce the chairperson for today's gathering, Jiyidusi Ogoman, the 10th anniversary of the Ghana Universities Debate Championship. Before us today, we have gathered distinguished individuals from various fields and backgrounds, uniting in a momentous event that marks a significant chapter in the collective journey. It is with great pleasure and deep respect that I stand before you to introduce the eminent personality who will preside over this auspicious occasion. Our chairperson for this day is a man of remarkable distinction of both his professional and community life. In his private life, he is known as Mr. Emmanuel Kingsley Appiah, a name synonymous with excellence and leadership. Mr. Emmanuel Kingsley Appiah is not only a teacher by profession, but a seasoned educator whose dedication to the noble cause of imparting knowledge has spanned an impressive 27 years. Throughout his illustrious career, he has tirelessly shared his wisdom and guidance with learners from the elementary school level to the esteemed halls of senior high education. His commitment to nurturing the minds of the youth has played an integral role in shaping the future of our country, Ghana. Mr. Appiah has had the privilege of contributing significantly to the development of Ghana's labor force through his invaluable work. His teaching journey has taken him to various corners of the central region, from the notable Chifu Pewudia DC Junior High School, and currently he is a teacher at Methodist Senior High School in Saltpond. Yet our chairperson's influence extends beyond the classroom. He is a remarkable traditional leader, an embodiment of cultural heritage, and a beacon of wisdom in his community. Nana is also an MPhil holder in social studies, holding the esteemed title of Oman Krado within the Ogwa Traditional Council. He is also the second in command to our king, Osaberimba Dr. Kwesi Atta II, the Ogwa Manhini. He has demonstrated exceptional leadership, fostering unity and preserving the rich tradition of his people. Again, he is married to Miss Evelyn Appiah with 4 children and loves football. Reading novels are his hobby. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you your chairman, Nana Bin Appiah. Chairman, your audience. Whoever knew English was this hard.
Thank you so much, Hanif Sani. So this morning, we are blessed to have 9 schools participating in the Ghana's Universities Debate Championship 2024. And so I would mention the schools. If you're here, you'd get up, you chant if you want to very shortly, or you wave a flag if you have, so that the camera can capture you beautifully. Right. So we have the school that is hosting us today. the University of Cape Coast. If you're here, let us see you. Interesting. Right, before I move on to the next school, there was one more important person that I forgot to introduce, the patron of UCCDS, in the person of Professor Kwabena Safo Kantanka. Good. And now to the school that I hail from, Takoradi Technical University is also here. Kindly stand up so the camera can capture you. Good. And then we have the University of Ghana. University of Ghana. Wow. Another technical school, Accra Technical University, is here this morning. We also have a member from UBIT, a member from UDS, and a member from Amstead. If you're here, let's see you. KNUST is also here this morning. And finally, we have UHAS. UHAS, if you are here, let's see you. Great. Thank you all so much for showing up at this year's GUDC. In the subsequent days or in the coming days to come, we are going to have interesting conversations that are going to be twisted and coined into motions. Now, on the side is going to be a public speaking event, which is my personal favorite. So if you have the time, do go and witness it. It's very and truly exciting. At this juncture, we'll take a speech from Nana Beyin Amua, the Oman crowd of the Oga Traditional Council, traditional area. Can we all stand up as we welcome?
Oh, please, you can sit down. Good morning, distinguished personalities. I would like to stand on all protocols to bring you greetings from Osaberima Dr. Kwesiata II, the Omahene of Ogwa traditional area. He would have wished to be here, but has been occupied by an equally pressing issue. Distinguished personalities, we all have a fair idea of debate being a contest of ideas in which participants discuss a topic on pressing issues from two opposing sides. But considering the topic for this contest, that is the traditional and contemporary contexts of debate, exploring the intersection, I can guess we have a lot to learn about the debate today. My wish will be to see contestants share ideas in a friendly, controlled, and civil setting where they will be exhibiting their intellectual, forensic, and rhetoric skills to the fullest. I will also be expecting our spectators not to be so fixated on what the team they are supporting is propounding, to the extent that they will not even want to learn from what the other party may be saying. I also pray contestants will not take criticisms personally, but use the contest as stress reliever. As students who will be maturing into professionals and future nation builders, our expectation is to see you in more rigorous nation building debates. If I will be allowed to be a little selfish here, more traditional issues. Osaberima welcomes all of you to the land of Ogwa. We have seen on your program a visitation to the palace, and we'll be ready to welcome you. I would like to reiterate here that if Osaberima had been here himself, he wouldn't have been happy with you at all. He's one person who does not play with his time and has imbibed this in all his chiefs. You are young men and women who are training to take over the country from us. Do not be part of those who will want to insist on Africa having its own time. Time wasting retards development. Anyway, we pray you have a fruitful and successful tournament. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana Bengi Namoa, Oman Krado of Ogwa traditional area. Please let's put our hands together for him again. And we do apologize about the timing. Next time we'll do better. Thank you. Right, so the next activity is to take a message from the convener. He is in the person of Mr. Jonathan Agbechomado.
Good morning. Nana Benyi Amwa, the Oman Krado of Ogwa traditional area. Nana Kujo Abaka V, the Akubian Hen of Ogwa traditional area. Patron, Dean of the University of Cape Coast, and all our guests. We are so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for being here. I would want to first of all begin as convener to extend a very sincere apology. In fact, as convener, I do take blame for all that has happened. There's no excuse for failing on time, especially since you have very important activities to run, especially for the Ogwa traditional area. And so I am sincerely sorry. On behalf of our team, I am hoping that when we do reach out to you, you please would not have to look back on our past mistakes and then judge us on that. We are so sorry for what has happened. Okay, thank you, our guest as well, for also dealing with us and bearing with us within this period. As convener, I would want to pass a very short message. First of all, we are so happy to have you here, and then it's a big deal for us, especially because it's the 10th anniversary, a decade of doing debate, especially when it started as something as ordinary and things between friends, discussing ideas. And now we have a whole structured system that allows universities to be able to debate on very pertinent issues. I must say we have gone that far enough, at least in the perspective of debate. This year, especially because it's 10 years, and I keep saying that all the time, and then the president of the ECC Debate Society mentions, Jonah, why are you so obsessed about 10 years? In fact, 10 years is big for us. And this year, we felt that it was important to analyze two sections of debate. And most of the times, it looks as though when it comes to arguing what debate is, most individuals feel that it's what we see in the contemporary space. What happens in the workplace, what happens in the education space, what happens in politics with the politicians and parliament. A lot of people think that's what debate is. But to be honest, the very bedrock of our society, what keeps us stable as people, is the local governance and structures that exist there. Without them, we would not have politicians, which means that we cannot discuss debate without analyzing the traditional context of debate. And this year, we have dedicated our entire session to ensuring that we have that analysis of the intersection that exists between the traditional levels of debate and the contemporary sessions of debate. First of all, on technical aspects, I would want to, please, with your information, extend a huge thank you to 3 specific individuals. In fact, we received help from every individual within this tournament. But I must say that without these 3 individuals, this tournament sincerely would have been very hard to happen. The first individual I would want to extend a thank you to, and you could please help me do that with an applause, is the Dean of Students of the University of Cape Coast. Very, very helpful. And I must have to let out a bit of a secret. In fact, there's been a change in organizational structure in our university not long. And to be very honest, even with that system, the dean has been so dedicated to us, dedicating every single time that he has to ensuring that this tournament happens. And we are so grateful, Dean. We are so, so grateful. The next person I would want to extend a huge thank you to is the patron of our debate society. In fact, he is the dean of the Faculty of Arts. And Dean says all the time that when it comes to debate, you have me, you have my attention all the time. And we are so grateful to you, Dean. Without you, UCC Debate Society would not even exist to even put in a bid to even want to organize this tournament. We are so grateful for your help. Now, the third person, in fact, doesn't have to do with top management. But to be very honest, this individual has been our go-to whenever we come to organization. A lot of you would not know him, and unfortunately, he hasn't been introduced within this tournament. And I must say, these are the people that keep us going. I want to introduce at this point, and please help me also thank Mr. Ansah. In fact, Mr. Ansah has been very, very helpful to the UCC Debate Society, transporting us everywhere we want to go to, ensuring that the little things that matter to the existence of this tournament, Mr. Ansah has always been there for us. And so these 3 individuals, thank you so much for having us, and then we are hoping that we are able to give you a very good tournament to elevate the name of the University of Cape Coast. I would want to end here and say that this year, please enjoy yourself. There's one thing we kept saying all through the whole publicity process, that we are promising you a massive tournament experience. I don't know why I'm smiling while saying this, but yes, we are promising you a massive tournament experience. We might have some flaws, but I can promise you that it takes 2 to be able to work something out. Please and please again, help us deal with time. If breakfast moving is at 7 a.m., please don't let us call you before you get there, especially when we have shared an outline. We beg you to please help us, and we'll also help you to make this tournament very successful. Thank you, everyone, for coming to UCC, and enjoy GUDC Oguaman.
Thank you so much, Jonathan Agbetramado. There was another person that I forgot to introduce, and this person is coming from the University of Ghana. He is in the Sports Directorate. His name is Mr. Augustine Amisari, the Senior Assistant Registrar. Good to see you, sir. At this point, we will take an address from the Dean of Students, the man who has been supporting UCCDS from the onset, Professor Daniel Apak. Let's welcome you with a bigger round of applause.
Nana Chair, Nananom, Patron, Prof. Tvucc. I know this man. We've known ourselves for a very long time. Prof, we acknowledge your presence. The Director of Sports, my own brother, of the University of Ghana. You know, when we say we are #1, and then our people will be looking at us. But it is true. we have been rated as number 1 in Ghana and in West Africa. So I know, I saw my Kate looking at us, but it is true. So we are number 1 in Ghana, number 1 in West Africa. And we are even in the whole of Africa, we are ranking very high. So Kate, that is a fact. All right. Nana Chair, permit me on behalf of University of Cape Coast Management and on my own behalf as the Dean of Students to welcome all our contestants to this important occasion. Now, these days, soft skills are very important. And I'm sure those of us who follow the trend on employability, there is a lot of emphasis on not just the hard skills, but soft skills. And I know that coming in to have a competition that is on the theme traditional and contemporary context of debate, exploring the intersection, I believe strongly that participating in such a contest is going to expose our young minds to becoming critical thinkers, very analytical, people who will not just say anything, but will have thought through, analyzed what they have to say, and then communicating effectively. You are also going through this competition to become very assertive. These are soft skills that we are hardly able to acquire in our lecture rooms. So I am particularly happy that UCC, we have been given the opportunity to host this Ghana Universities Debate Championship. Patrons who have come with their teams and contestants. We are hopeful that by the end of the competition, you would have experienced the UCC life. You will live here with memories. You will network, make friends. At the end of the day, you will broaden your scope. So on behalf of the University of Management and on my own behalf, I want to say you are welcome. Enjoy your stay. And may UCC win. Thank you. My brother is looking at me.
Thank you so much, Prof. Please put your hands together once again for him. So I am told that there is a mantra or a slogan. When I say GUDC Ogwaman, there is something you're supposed to respond to. And I believe the UCC students know it. So, GUDC Ogwaman. We didn't catch that. GUDC Ogwaman. Waraweni bebre. Okay. All right. So, guys, we've learned it, right? So, let's do it again. GUDC Ogwaman. Interesting. So, we'll take the last speech from the UCCDS patron in the person of Mr. Kobna Safo Kantanka. Professor Kobna Safo Kantanka.
Thank you very much. Prof. Park, I believe UCC will win. Anyway. Without being biased, when the, Jonathan, where are you? The convener, yes. You know when, before he delivered his speech, he was apologizing very profusely. And he reminded me of a saying that the Chinese begin a speech with a proverb. the Japanese with a philosophy, but the Ghanaian with an apology, or an African with an apology. Why? Because we are always late. So when we start, oh, I'm sorry for coming late and all that kind of thing. So I'm adding my voice to what Nana said, that please let us begin to respect time. This is a training ground, university. So if we cannot get it right, it means the head started rotten, and that would be a disaster for us. So please, let's be mindful of our time, and then so we can always get it right. Nana Chairman, Nana Benin Amwa, the 6th Oman Krado of the Ogwa Traditional Council, Nana Kodjo Abeka, Ankobi Ahene, Nana Kodjo Abeka the 5th, right? Yes. Ankobi Ahene of the Ogwa Traditional Council, patrons of sister debate societies, Dean of Students, Professor Daniela Park, panel members, Professor Di Valera Boche, I don't think Dr. Koka is around, debaters, students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is truly an honor to stand before you today to discuss a topic that is not only fascinating, but deeply relevant in our rapidly changing world. The traditional and contemporary context of debate, exploring the intersection. Debate, in its most fundamental form, is the art of exchanging ideas. It is an ancient tradition rooted in the desire to explore different perspectives, challenge assumptions, and seek the truth. Throughout history, debate has been an essential tool for progress, a platform for voices to be heard, and a way to engage in a rigorous intellectual exercise. Nana Chair, today, however, we stand at a crossroads where the traditional methods of debate, that is, those we inherited from the likes of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Cicero, meet the evolving needs of contemporary society. This intersection offers an exciting opportunity, but it also poses challenges. As we navigate this space, it is important to reflect on how both traditional and modern forms of debate contribute to public discourse. The traditional debate, which is the foundation of rhetoric and logic. Traditional debate is structured, methodical, and grounded in classical rhetoric. It teaches us the importance of logic, reasoning, and ethics. In its purest form, it emphasizes clarity of thought, the ability to construct well-reasoned arguments, and respect for differing perspectives. The ancient Greeks understood this well, as did those who shaped the early democratic ideals of modern societies. This form of debate is often formal, whether it is within the halls of parliament, in the academic settings, or within the confines of a courtroom. Here, the rules are rigid, the formats are fixed, and the goal is to engage deeply with ideas, regardless of one's personal beliefs. The principles of ethos, that is credibility, pathos, that is emotional appeal, and logos, that is logic, form the foundation of these debates. In traditional debates, the structure itself ensures fairness and intellectual rigor. Each side is given an equal platform to present arguments, counter-arguments, and rebuttals. This format teaches patience, discipline, and the ability to anticipate counterpoints long before they are made. More importantly, it encourages the development of critical thinking, a skill that is indispensable not only in academic circles, but in everyday decision making. What is a contemporary debate? It is dynamic, expansive, and rapidly evolving. Nanache, contemporary debate takes place in much more fluid, fast-paced environment. The advent of the internet and social media has democratized the debate space, giving a platform to voices that were once marginalized. This is one of the most positive developments in modern society. Debates are no longer confined to formal spaces. They happen in real time on Twitter, in Facebook comment sections, TikTok, and on various social media fora. However, with this openness comes new challenges. Contemporary debates are often less structured, and they can be prone to misinformation, emotional appeals, and echo chambers. For example, today, people are living in partisan and ideological echo chambers where they encounter only beliefs and opinions that coincide with their existing views, thereby avoiding alternative views. The rise of hot takes, where individuals quickly respond to complex issues without the necessary depth or reflection, can dilute the quality of discourse. Instead of fostering mutual understanding, these debates can sometimes deepen divides and even foment abuses. But contemporary debate also offers flexibility and immediacy. It allows for diverse perspectives to be brought to the table quickly and in real time. In many cases, these platforms have been instrumental in sparking social change, raising awareness about injustices, and holding power to account. Think of the movements that have been born online. #MeToo, #Black Lives Matter, #Doomsor Must Stop, #Fix the Country, and countless others. These contemporary debates, though sometimes messy, have brought issues to the forefront that traditional debates may have overlooked or sidelined. The intersection, that is, how do we blend the traditional debate with the modern innovation and contemporary debate? Nanache, ladies and gentlemen, the intersection between traditional and contemporary debate is where the magic truly happens. At this crossroads, we can draw on the strengths of both approaches while mitigating their weaknesses. From traditional debate, we can bring back the emphasis on critical thinking, structure, and respect for differing opinions. And I repeat that, respect for differing opinions. We can reintegrate the value of deep, thoughtful analysis over quick, superficial responses. Yet, we must also embrace the inclusivity and democratization that contemporary debate offers. The accessibility of information, the platform for previously unheard voices, and the power of immediacy are tools we cannot afford to ignore. The real question we must ask ourselves is, how can we strike the balance? How can we take the rigor of classical debate and merge it with the inclusivity and dynamism of the digital age? I believe the answer lies in education and adaptability. We must teach the next generation of debaters the value of both worlds. They must learn to engage in structured, respectful discourse while also understanding the power of modern technology to amplify their voices and bring about social change. We should encourage students, leaders, and all individuals to practice debate that is thoughtful but not elitist, accessible but not oversimplified. Moreover, as debaters, we must adapt to the changing nature of discourse without compromising on truth and intellectual integrity. We must leverage the speed and reach of social media to spark conversation, but we should also remember that meaningful change often requires sustained, in-depth dialogue. conclusion, and the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, as we explore the intersection of traditional and contemporary debate, let us remember that both forms have something valuable to offer. In a world that often feels divided, debate remains one of the most powerful tools we have to bridge gaps, foster understanding, and drive progress. Whether we are engaging in formal debate in a classroom or participating in a lively exchange online, let us aim to elevate the conversation. Let us strive to be not just persuasive, but also thoughtful, compassionate, and informed. Thank you.
I believe you can do it better for Prof. Thank you so much, Professor. So, we are approaching a very crucial part of today's gathering. What we are going to have is a panel discussion. Now, when you look at the theme, the traditional and the contemporary context of debate, exploring the intersection, this is a conversation that we need to have. So we are going to have the traditional people on the other side, and then we'll equally have those who belong to the contemporary context too on the other side, so that we can have a thorough conversation exploring that intersection that we talk about. But then again, before that, let's show appreciation to the media team, or all the entire media that helped us. Radio Central, can we give it up for them? ATL FM, TVUCC, and then Metro TV. Metro TV did very, very well. But even before we have this panel discussion, let us appreciate the UCC Department of Dance. Right, let's show them some appreciation. They would give us a musical interlude as we set up the place for the panel discussion. Thank you.
In this.
Please put your hands together for them. They did so well. And so in a few minutes, we would start the panel discussion. All right, so Jonathan Agbetramado will spearhead the panel discussion. He will do the introduction.
Okay, it's time for us to finally explore the intersection that exists between the traditional context of debate and the contemporary context of debate. So we would be having a panel discussion at this point, a very short one, but very, very informative as well. So on one side of the panel, we would have the representation from the traditional context, and then would also have for the contemporary, which would include the historian and an educationist in that regard. Please, with a round of applause, kindly help me welcome our panel guest, and then we'll immediately begin the discussion. Also, please help me welcome. Yeah, that's it. Forget the two. Also, please help me welcome the representation from the contemporary level as well, as Nana also makes his way up the stage. All right, thank you very much for joining me. And just so our guests are able to understand, and ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a brief panel discussion to understand the context between the traditional levels of debate and the contemporary levels of debate. What is going to happen is that we are simply going to posit a number of questions which are generally open-ended. And then we are going to get responses from our guests to help us understand how debates happens at the traditional level and also equally how debates happens in the contemporary world that we see today. So without wasting much time, and especially because an introduction has been done, I would want to first of all look at the traditional section. But I would want to ask Nana, and either of you could respond. What does debate look like within the traditional setting?
Hello. Within the traditional setting, we always should have a leader who will bring out the issues. Most of the talks will be done by the leader, and then if any of the other members within the setting has any issues to talk about, you wait till maybe the leader calls you before you'll be able to say whatever you want to say.
Okay, that's awesome. Then how does it then look on the contemporary side? I think I'll turn to Prof. Kantanka. Could you help us how it looks like within your setting?
Right, thank you very much. In a modern day debate, you normally have what we call two opposing sides. And so, as compared to the traditional one, in the modern day, right from the word go, that kind of opposition, you have two sides opposed to each other, trying to prove their points to show that they are right and the other side is wrong, and vice versa. So, for example, if you look at the British, the parliamentary context as a debate, you realize that very often they say we have the majority side sitting on the right side of the speaker, and then we have the minority side sitting on the left side of the speaker, facing each other. In fact, in the British context, it's even more direct because they face each other directly, sitting on a form of, if you like, benches. But if you look at the Ghanaian one, they sit in a semicircular form. But at the same time, they face each other. So the context alone tells you that we are opposed to each other. And therefore, usually when ideas are raised, if the majority side raise an issue, it will look like no matter what, the minority side will have to oppose it. So sometimes this is what you see clearly about a contemporary debate. Two sides opposing each other.
Okay, that's great. Prof. De Valera, especially because you seem to have more deep-seated knowledge in history, and you also do serve in the contemporary space, how do you weigh into the conversation so far, looking at how it happens on the traditional level, and then like Prof. also says, how it happens in the contemporary level?
Thank you very much. Yes, debates have existed in the African context for a very long time. Since we are in Ghana, I would like to focus on Ghana.
It existed in the pre-colonial society, and it was part of our efforts and ways to build consensus. Consensus and to have solutions to problems. Consensus building on issues related to politics, war, economics, issues related to the selection of a political leader, maybe a Nana. So in the context of where a Nana has to be selected after the demise of a Nana, the kingmakers, the family sits down and they debate. There is no imposition. They have to talk about, the candidates available and find a solution as to how to get the best candidate. So that is it. On the battlefield, there are debates. How do we attack? How do we, engage in this battle with the opposing side? So we've got debates in our political systems, social systems, economic systems in the pre-colonial context. Additionally, debates, in the traditional context historically and even today existed in the marketplaces. The market is a big place for debates. Debates about, how much something is being sold. You go and you say, I want to buy this. The woman says, okay, give me this. No, you haggle. That's a kind of debate. It goes on and you find a certain kind of position where both of you are fine with and some kind of exchange is made. So I find that now we have a system that we call education today, which is just what we have here, university schools, primary schools. That is schooling. Indigenously we had and we have education. So education is not going to school. And within our school systems, the tertiary level, the basic level, we have these societies, clubs, debating clubs. These are fundamentally structures that came to us on the wings of colonialism. The school system is a product of colonialism. And so the debate clubs we have here are basically products of colonialism, and legacies of colonialism.
Okay.
We have that. So, and in our parliamentary systems, again, we have debates. That's also a legacy of colonialism.
Okay.
So these are the two
okay, but there's one thing I want you to weigh in on before I go back to Prof. Kantanka. Because the conversation so far from the traditional level looks like it's based off the narrative of building consensus. But in the contemporary space, it looks as though we have deep-seated ideologies that we all want to defend. What do you make of those two? Because I think the biggest conversation today is how polarized our world has become. What do you say about how the traditional world is far more reaching for consensus, but the contemporary world seems to care about a particular side and wants to defend it?
I think that at the end of the day, there is still consensus building in what we do today. Two views, two sides discuss an issue. The idea is to use words and use, logic and reason, facts, to make a certain position appear, or to make a certain position, to privilege a certain position,
okay,
or a certain idea. So there's still consensus building. I see that. At the end of the day, the side that does not get its side accepted says that, yeah, well done. There's still consensus building. In debates at the indigenous level, I call it indigenous, not traditional, in the indigenous context and the contemporary context, there are two types. There is what you call irenic debates, irenic debates and agonistic debates. So the irenic debates are basically, the ones that you do to build a certain kind of, it's peaceful, I would say. The approach is peaceful. So that is the irenic debates. And there is the agonistic debates. The agonistic debate is very combative. So in the indigenous, the contemporary context, what we see is more like it's the agonistic ones.
Okay.
Going to get someone's daughter to marry. A family goes, they sit down, and they have a debate. Okay, we'll give you this. Okay, bring us this, schnapps, this, and that. Oh, it's too much. Please, can you bring it down? Your daughter, we're going to take care of her, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Within that context, there's it's not combative, it's not agonistic, it's ironic. And the idea is to build consensus about how to get these two people, male and female, together to marry.
Okay.
So I see that in both contexts, the indigenous context and the contemporary context, the idea is to build consensus.
Okay.
Ultimately.
I think that structured level of explanation does make it very clear that, in fact, on both sides, we want to reach a consensus. Before I come back to Prof. Kantanka, I want to weigh in on something that you said in the traditional setting. You mentioned, and I think that's what all of us love and applaud the traditional system for, that you are huge on consensus building. But what I want to weigh in on is, you mentioned that most of the times there's a leader, and that leader facilitates the process. And what caught my attention is when you mentioned that that leader calls on you to add your take to the conversation. My question is, does that structure not limit the amount of information or engagement someone can make? Because if, for example, I am the leader and there are 8 elders within that space, and I don't call someone in particular, or what exactly happens? Is it that the leader has to call everybody, or he chooses who to call? I think you can help us understand that.
Normally, everybody is involved.
Okay.
He will ask you, do you have any contributions to add to this? When you are done, then he will move to the next person. What about you? Any suggestions? And he will go around till everybody has given his or her part to the issue. And with ours, there's nothing like this person has won over that person. There's no winner over there.
Okay.
We only look at how we'll be able to get a solution to whatever we are discussing. The best way out.
Okay.
So everybody's suggestion is okay. No winner, no loser.
Okay. Then I want to ask this as well. The people who get to engage in the conversation, how do they get there? The elders who get to engage in the debate within that space, how do they get there? And the reason why I'm asking is that, at least on the contemporary side and within the universities, a lot of us know that there's an increased opportunity for anyone to debate. So, for example, here in the Ghana University Debate Championship, schools register participants. I think a lot of them, there is no cap on that. But what I know, and I think you can correct me, in the traditional system, that limited group of elders, don't you think is limiting to the amount of information that you can discuss within that space?
Normally, it depends on the issue at stake. If the issue involves maybe getting people from academia, you have to invite people from academia to come and help you with that issue.
Oh, okay.
So if you invite them and they come, then you put the issue in front of them, that this is what we want to do.
Okay.
This is our plans. This is whatever we have at stake as at now.
Okay.
Do you have any suggestions for us? Is there anything that you can do to help us?
Okay. Okay, I think that's very, very nice, because initially I used to think that it was always the elders and the chief that decide.
No.
But I think now 2 things have been clear. One, that on both sides of the conversation, we want to reach a consensus. And also, even in the traditional, which Prof has just alerted us that we should use the word indigenous, even within those spaces, there's always expert advice.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very
There
much.
are times you can even invite market women,
Okay.
businessmen, all those things. We've been doing it.
All right. I would have been tempted to ask, how do market women qualify for the conversation? What conversation definitely affects them? Is it what happens within the market?
When there is an issue within the market,
Okay.
and we want to know how that problem could be solved, they are the best people who can tell you what actually is happening over there.
All right.
And then what they feel you can do as their leader in helping solve that problem.
Okay, thank you very, very much. In fact, a lot of things have now been exposed to me about how debate happens within your space. I'm so grateful that you've responded. Back to Prof. Kantanka. And especially because you are the dean of the Faculty of Art. I know you are huge on communication. You know how art works within the space, communication, collaboration. What I want to ask is, how do you think education, especially your role as a dean, how do you think education has shaped debate today?
Well, thank you very much. Let me say that the surname is Safo Kantanka. It's not Kantanka, Safo Kantanka. Sorry. Well, you see, Prof. Boche mentioned something, that what we see today is a result of schooling, where he distinguishes between schooling and education. The formal education system that we have today, we are trained in a certain way, in, if you like, a westernized way of education. And so what is happening is that compared to the indigenous period, you realize that today's student has so much information. So when a topic is raised, the issues are many, uncountable. And therefore, people are open to have access to so much information that anytime you raise an issue, somebody has a counter issue to raise.
Okay.
And so what education has done, and that is the purpose of education anyway, to open your mind to vast array of pieces of information so that you can understand the world properly. Okay. That is what is happening. And that is why normally in our area of our discipline, the arts, we emphasize critical thinking, so that you don't just take anything that is said, you ask questions about it before you take a step. But also, this is where today we're beginning to face challenges. If you listen to what I said in my speech, where today, very often we are so superficial in terms of our responses to issues, okay, compared to the traditional setting. And I'll add to what Nana said, that, you know, traditionally, or let me use Professor Boche's term, the indigenous setting, social cohesion was a big issue. So anytime they were discussing anything, they were debating anything, at the end of the day, they were so much interested in making sure that they go back home still united. But today it's not like that. And so at that time, the societal interest was bigger than the individual. And you know that at that time, society revolved around the leader, the chief. So if the leader is the one leading the debate, it makes sense, because people respected the leader, and whatever he said, people responded, because it was said that the leader was spoken to by our ancestors. So everything that he was saying was from the ancestors, and people respected the ancestors. And therefore, if the chief or the king spoke, or the leader spoke, people could ask questions, all right, but questions that would derail the process until there was a very thorny issue that spoke to the essence of the existence of that society. So, but today, we don't see that kind of respect because of the Western education that we have.
Okay.
The country doesn't revolve around the president.
Okay.
They say that power resides with the people.
True.
And so everybody wants to express their views. Everybody who has been to school thinks that he knows something, and therefore he wants to express his views or her views. And today, with the advent of social media and all that, people can stand anywhere and throw something in there. And you and I will follow TikTok, Facebook, and people have followers. So it has changed the terrain of the debate. And this is the biggest challenge we have today. And I remember some time ago, I read something on WhatsApp.
Okay.
And there was an Italian scholar who said something. I can't quote exactly what he said. He said that, well, in those days, there were people who could not even join a conversation at the beer bar. The moment they opened their mouth, they would be shut down. And then they couldn't speak because they didn't have any ideas. But because of social media today, everybody can stand up and say something, and the person gets followers. And people are following. And today, people can go on social media and insult Nananum In those days, it wouldn't happen because the Nana was said to be the representative of our ancestors.
True.
So the biggest challenge we have today with our debate of issues is that kind of respect and for social cohesion, respect for unity, respect for the real social fiber of ourselves is missing. Okay. And that is the biggest challenge. And it's all due to the Western education that we received. You see, the Western education doesn't respect, okay, let me say that with some kind of, in quote, doesn't respect so much our traditional indigenous opinions and the way we do our things. And therefore, the students of today, a lot of them, the youth of today, a lot of them see what the indigenous system is as negative. Okay. Sometimes they use the word is backward, is this and that. Sometimes, some of us, when we hear that, we feel unhappy because we understand what our social system is. Let me just use what is happening to us today as Ghanaians. Look at the Galamsey problem. In those days, indigenous times of Nananom, the debates, nobody would go close to the river body.
Very true.
You got to the river body and you removed your shoes. They say, you don't step here. I know that in my village, my father was a cocoa farmer, and the village was founded by my grandfather. And there were streams and there were buffer zones. And every year, they went there to offer sacrifices to Nanan. And anytime we got to that place, we felt as though something was chasing us. But today, somebody is like, if they don't do that, how are they going to eat? It's part of the debate. Exchange of ideas. And I feel that argument is the bogus of all.
True.
The arguments about if they don't destroy the environment, how do they eat and all that? They don't have jobs. I think that is not an argument. So this is the challenge we have today. It's a Western form of education that has brought us this far. It has some challenge, even though it opens there's democratization. And too much democratization is problematic anyway. It's not as though Nananum were not democratic. That's why they had a debate about issues. But the way they saw issues was different from how we as students and as scholars and as academics see things today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in fact, I'm so glad these things are coming up because a lot of us are mixed up on how debate happens in the traditional setting. We don't seem to give as much reverence. And I think I'm a culprit even in that because the truth of the matter is we don't understand how debate truly works there. And so we cannot relate and appreciate what happens there. I think we've mentioned how debate has helped sustain the environment, but I would want Prof. De Valera to also weigh in on it. How do you think the traditional context of debate has helped sustain our societies as we have today? How do you think that has happened? How has it helped settle disputes? How has it helped push us to where we are today as a society?
Thank you very much. I would like to give an assignment to all of us. I want to do that. Am I permitted?
You are.
Okay. I want us to find the indigenous a word in any of the indigenous languages that we have in Ghana for debate. Is there anyone who has that knowledge to tell us one word, a word in any of the indigenous languages for debate? The English word is debate. Okay. Okay, Nyansa Kasa. Is there anyone who agrees with his position? Nyansa Kasa. Nyansa Kasa. Nyansa Kasa. Why do you say Nyansa Kasa? Nyansa Kasa, why saying? What about why saying? A why saying, a proverb, a parable. Parable is a Nyansa Kasa. A proverb is a Nyansa Kasa. A wise saying is a Nyansa Kasa. A philosophical statement is a Nyansa Kasa. What about debate? The word debate. Think about it. Nana said, Adrin Tuatua. or adwenkyerɛ. I'm saying this because we take words. We have a writer, one of our nationalist leaders. His name is, or we know him as Kobnasechi. Kobnasechi wrote a paper and said the meaning of the expression "thinking in English" is an article. Well, we take words from other contexts, and it's difficult for us to understand those words in our indigenous settings. So the word debate. How do we translate it in our indigenous language? It's very important for a debating club or debate clubs to consider this. Anyway, getting back to your question.
Yes, I think that was a very, very important one, because a lot of us seem to draw focus away from the traditional context. But what I would want you to highlight then is especially how has the traditional word, the indigenous setting. Yes, how has the indigenous setting helped sustain our societies as we have now?
Thank you. Our chiefs are still very much alive. They are still there. Fortunately, the colonial order did not obliterate our indigenous political order. The fact of the matter is that they no longer, or that order does not wield a lot of power as it used to have in the past. That is still very much alive, and we still have our festivals. We still go back to our villages to discuss. We have settings where we are able to engage in storytellings, and by the way, by the fireside storytellings that we had in the past, and some of us still have it in our villages. There are places that for engaging in debates, where people engage in debates. Okay. Now, a storyteller will tell the story, and at times will come out with dilemma stories. At the end of the day, there is a dilemma, and the storyteller will ask the children, what do you think about this? Oh, Nana, that guy should have done this. Nana, we think that is a form of debate. At the end of the day, they agree on a position or go like, okay, go home and think about this and come back. So that's a place. And we have that in some of our villages. Okay. In our chiefs' palaces, there are still some people who take cases to our chiefs for arbitration. And there you have that kind of ironic, debate going on. Okay, advance your case, advance yours. Let's have some kind of conciliation and peace. Also, land disputes. Some people send them to the chiefs. And we have that kind of arbitration there. It goes on there, and you have the agonistic debate there. And at the end of the day, there's still some kind of consensus building. And so our indigenous system is still alive, okay, and is supporting us in building consensus. Our House of Chiefs, still houses of chief. How should I say? Regional houses of chiefs, very much alive, and they still support, a kind of modern society in inverted commas with indigenous ethos, paradigms, and norms.
All right. Okay. Thank you very, very much for that. All right, Prof.
What Prof. Botwe just said reminds me of my childhood.
Okay.
I was the best storyteller growing up.
Yes, that's why you are a patron.
And unfortunately, at that time, I didn't know how to write, so I couldn't put these things down. And I remember that every evening at the village, there was one elderly man who would invite me to his house and bring all other children and say, let's tell stories, Anansi stories. Sometimes it was riddles. Okay. Sometimes it was competition on proverbs.
Wow.
And I was almost always winning. And I remember very well one time, one of my uncles came there and said, this boy will be brilliant when he grows up, because everybody was talking about me. And you see, anytime you told a story, there was a lesson out of it. And these lessons, they were very, very philosophical. Remember, is it Papa Yangson's song? O Mamene, O Iriwatun Soma. I want to be in that dilemma tale. So serious. But, today we don't do that. And it's like, because of formal education, we've killed all that. But if you really, really want to understand the world and the way human society should be, we should go back for these kinds of training. And this is where children pick up the morals. Okay, today everybody is talking about morals, morals. But where are we going? If traditionally, if children are brought up that way, I'm telling you, they will grow up to be the best when it comes to moral issues and values. Unfortunately, of course, urbanization and development, if you are staying in the city, you are going to school, and those, but it can be done in the schools. I remember when I was in primary school, we used to do that. There were Anansi story times when they would bring all of us together under a tree and everybody would tell a story. And the most important thing of that was to raise issues of morality, values, for us to debate, so they drew our attention to. And this is what some of us have grown up with. You know, I am in English. I teach English. I'm a professor of English language, but I don't think anybody understands our traditional issues more than I do. And when I go back home, I hardly speak English. Always speaking my local language. And I admire the local issue, our indigenous issues, our indigenous practices, because of the way I was brought up. But we are not, children of today are not exposed to these things. All that they are exposed to, social media, TikTok, WhatsApp, and so they don't get these things. And that is why the debate, the platform for the debate has changed so widely that it becomes so difficult that the children of today, the young or the youth of today, find it very difficult to understand the traditional or the indigenous way of debate.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And on a lighter note, I must say that uncle was right when he says you are going to be awesome. Yes, you are awesome. Yes, very, very true. All right, good. Just to weigh in a bit, I think I'll turn to Nana now. Prof. De Valera mentioned something, and I think that's what caught my attention on how today people bring cases to your court so that you're able to address for them through debate. But one thing I also want to be a bit clear on is, what are the kinds of issues that you discuss? And the reason why I say so is that are people within your region required to bring some specific types of cases to you? Or people can choose what kinds of issues they bring to you? Or also, do you have a limitation on the kinds of issues you can address? Is it that your court can address every form of issue through debate, or there's a limit on that? I think I would want you to help us a bit on that.
Yeah, I'm an arbiter at the Traditional Council. And we have a customary court.
Okay.
Yes, which it has been entrusted in the chiefs.
Okay.
For us to arbitrate on issues.
All right.
Yeah, most especially in our Traditional Council. In Cape Coast, traditional area, we don't curse in Cape Coast. We don't insult.
Okay.
We don't fight. So the chiefs over there, and as an arbiter, I have to sit down and look at all these issues. And like a land dispute, we always go in by what, let me say, we go back to the fact, the history behind the land, the owners. If you have a document, you bring it out. If you have a witness, you also bring the witness so that we can know who is the rightful owner of the land. But this time, more so, let me also add this one. I will urge the student over here and the student in Ghana to blend the Western education with ours.
Okay.
Because if we throw what we have away and we take what is from the Western, I think we are going to lose everything entirely.
Everything.
Yes, we are going to lose everything entirely. And look at this very moment. If someone dies, instead of them to go to the family house for 1 week celebration, they will go to church.
Wow.
You see, it's like adapting someone's religion and culture, throwing yours away, and that is no good.
Okay.
You see, and whenever there is a marriage, even in our Bible, I'm a Christian and I'm a traditional ruler. In our Bible, when someone is going to marry, in the Bible they say go to the parent. So the two body, I mean the father and the mother of the both sides, will meet and decide on what to do.
True.
But right now, having done everything, they will move it to the priest. Even now, the pastors are doing it. And we are Ghanaians.
True.
It's about time our children and the student ought to learn something out from it. We have a very rich culture. We have a very rich tradition. And we have to respect it as such. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So 2 things. One, it's about time. And second, we do have a very rich culture. But before I get to the very end of our discussion, I want to ask, let's imagine that I bring an issue to your court, and then you have helped me settle that issue. And most likely, let's assume that some individual or whoever tells me that, no, that probably is not a good enough issue. First of all, do I have the right to come back for a redress like it happens on the other side of, like, for example, in the courts where you can appeal and all those things? But also, secondly, am I allowed to now step out of the traditional system and say, I am rather going to court? Will the court hold your decision major? Or what happens when those frictions come between the traditional and the contemporary?
Yeah, the customary law has given us power to do so.
That's good.
So having done that, we always prepare a judgment. So if you are not satisfied with it, you have to move straight to court, magistrate court. And our, our proceedings and the judgment will be written down and also take it over there.
Okay.
But they will not start the procedure afresh. They are not going to start the case afresh. But rather, they will read what we have done and also move ahead with it.
Oh, thank you.
That is what we do.
All right. And the reason why I asked that, and I think it's going to be very important for all of us, is when you highlighted that the law grants you that right. And so I think it's important for us to know that the traditional setting is not a separate entity in our society. In fact, now there's that integration, and so you are there to help us, and even anything there's a process. Nana wants to add as well.
One thing that I want to let people know is that when you come to the traditional council, there are 2 committees that we have. We have the arbitration committee and we have the judicial committee. With the judicial committee, parties can even go for lawyers and bring them.
Oh, okay.
We allow that one. If there is any issue that has been solved and you feel you are not happy, you can petition the Omahin. The Omahin can form another committee to look into it.
That's good.
Just like it happens at the court and everything.
Oh, okay, that's very good. So I think that already sets us at peace. So all of us know that there is a good and sustainable process even at the indigenous level, and we have to take advantage of that. I think we'll be drawing close to the end of our conversation, and I would want every one of our guests to highlight a few things. For Prof. Safo Kantanka, because you are huge in the contemporary world, but you've really mentioned that even with the indigenous, you are huge there as well. I want to know from your perspective, first of all, it's a bit personal. Do you think that universities today really prioritize public speaking, critical thinking? If yes, how much do you think they prioritize it? Is it enough to be able to get us to a better future as we wish?
Thank you very much. That's a loaded question anyway. Well, in UCC, we have a whole course, critical thinking.
Good.
That second year's read. Every student of UCC reads that course. the second year, we call it critical thinking. It came in because at a point in time we felt that the students' critical thinking level was quite low.
Okay.
And so we needed to introduce the issues of logic and sustained reasoning and what have you. But I think that the biggest challenge we have today is that in formal education, the arts as a discipline or as a set of disciplines is actually faced with a lot of challenges because we deal with the soft skills and not the hard ones like engineering and those kinds of things. So you see today, the government's education program is STEM education.
True.
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Where is the A? That makes it STEAM. The A, the arts, is out. But it's the arts that teaches the moral values, the humanistic values, the humanity in us is taught by the arts.
True.
So now the emphasis is always on science and maths and all that. So it looks like if I get what I want through the hard skills, I don't have to care about what happens to my neighbor.
Okay.
But in the arts, we will teach you the neighbor principle, the neighborhood values.
Okay.
So that you are going to destroy River Pra. What about those who are drinking from it?
Very true.
All those villages along the river body, they drink from that river. How are they going to survive? The arts will teach you that if you do that, you are going to kill people. And that's a value issue. It's a moral issue, so don't do it. So that is the biggest challenge we have today. And I have always said that it is because we have devalued the arts that today we are facing all these environmental issues. Because the fact that this is a buffer zone, don't go there. And so in those days, nobody will go there. Eh? Yeah. It's a soft thing. And then somebody came and said, oh, no. You can go and clear it. Then they started the song. For me, that was the beginning of the killing of the indigenous values.
Okay.
And so the respect for our indigenous values began dwindling. You follow Western societies. A child can take the father to court. A child can take the mother to court. And the courts will rule in favor of the child. You see why? Because over there, if the parents cannot cater for the child, the state will take responsibility. But here with us, so you take an issue happens, you go to the traditional council, they set up a committee, they investigate, and they realize, oh, after all, Papa, someone yet the Papa. Then they say that, okay, you're too a. In other words, Nana says, I've stepped on it. We are not going to continue. What it means is that the father is guilty, but they cannot pronounce the father guilty. Why? Because after the judgment, you are going back to stay together. And it's the father's responsibility to support you. So if that happens, what happens to the core fiber of that family? And that's why I said initially that Nananom were more concerned with the social cohesion and the value, the social fiber, putting it together, than determining who is guilty and who is not guilty. And so for me, what we have to do is to blend the two. Okay. And I'm happy about talking about the intersection. It's all about, if you listen to the speech I gave, how do we blend? We take the positives of the indigenous ones, then the positives of the contemporary one. We merge them, then we practice those. Otherwise, if you continue to go the way we are going, perhaps it will get to a stage where there will be no indigenous knowledge, there will be no values. And today we are seeing it. The values are dwindling. And that's why today you have a Department of Religion and Human Values. Why do they emphasize human values? Because we see that if you are not intentional about it, we're going to face challenge. So the universities today, well, the issues of the arts and the values and all that, the soft skills, the critical thinking skills are going down. But better late than never. I think that what UCC has done by introducing critical thinking skills, and some of us, the campaign we've taken upon ourselves, and I think one day maybe we'll get there. But we should be intentional, purposeful about it. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for that addition. Let me move to Prof. De Valera, and especially because you, if I should say, embody the intersection. Yeah, you do have deep-seated knowledge in history when it comes to the indigenous level, and also are serving in the contemporary space. What do you think, one, stakeholders like the government and even people like ourselves can do to make sure that it's not just show talk, it's not just guest talk, but really we see these things become practical as a community and as a nation? What do you think we should do?
Thank you. Just want clarity on something. What do you mean by these things? What?
So, for example, we have highlighted a number of things. We now know as a group of people that the traditional setting has major positives that are also aligned to our local level. But the vast majority of us, I think I can speak for a lot of people, have no knowledge about these things. And most of the times it's these platforms that allow us to be able to know these things. Even when we do, I think there's that gap between the Western education that we see here in the university intentionally helping us know these things. What do you think we should do to fill those gaps? Because if not for maybe informative sessions like this, most likely myself, I would have still been lost on the traditional sector. What do you think we should do to have that blended intersection?
Okay, thank you. I think that you have to continue to, have such programs, people like you and your colleagues, promote such programs, around for people who find it difficult to access such information that such programs generate, or have this kind of more democratized spaces, to support them. The other thing that I want to say is that our educationists and policymakers need to understand that it's important for us as a nation. One time a colonized people, now are not colonized people, but new colonized people, because we are new colonized. We need to go into our indigenous life ways, you call it culture, and extract, the good things. Not everything in our culture is good. We have to understand that. Those that are not good, we have to get rid of them because, time is moving. But there are some that are good. We have to go back and extract those and formalize them as bodies of knowledge within our school systems, and teach them, And this is something that you cannot do in your current position. This is something that policymakers and leaders in our institutions have to do. Nananum, to support such a move with their knowledge, members of the Nananum family, some of them become corrupt. And it's true, they have become corrupt because of contact. What I mean by contact is the Western ideas coming in, and that corrupted their mindset, that now they do not even understand the sacredness of the chieftaincy institution. They do not understand it. You see, I want to, Nananum, they're here. Why is it that in the past, a person who has been nominated, we would get this person as a chief, they run away. They run away and they go after them. There is a reason. Now, they don't even have to be nominated. They want to find a way to become chiefs by all means because of something. I want us to think about that. Now, such persons, we don't have to invite such persons to support us in this enterprise to build this kind of knowledge for ourselves. We need to find the right people to support such an enterprise that you're talking about. But it's all about education and education and education. That's what we need.
Thank you very, very much, Prof. De Valera, for that addition. I would want to finally turn to Nana to give us the very last words to us as people listening and to your audience, the state, every stakeholder. What do you think we should do? At this point, I would want you to sell yourselves to us because truly a lot of us have been lost on what the indigenous system looks like. This is the time to speak to us.
Yeah, thank you. What I will urge the student to know is that we now have a Western education in Ghana at this very moment. And the Europeans came and colonized us. And they have done something which is very bad and wrong. As we all know, if we compare something, or if I want us to cast our mind back, we have a book known as Active History. And the Active History, they always write something negative about our traditional setup or indigenous setup. Like the human sacrifice, execution, and even more so, our Ogwafetu Afashe was known as Black Christmas. Yes, Ogwafetu Afashe was known as Black Christmas until 1964, when Osaberma Kojombra V started it again. And now we've seen a lot of the culture, the rich culture that we have. So, our educationists ought to start to educate our students because we are leaving and they will come and take over from us. As we all know, he said something about chiefs who are corrupt. Yes, chiefs, some of them are corrupt because of the politicians. And politics came out from the Western culture. If you go to this place, Beposo, you can just look at the water. I mean the river over there, River Pra. If you go to Ankobra, River Pra. And now, the traditional ruler will be in the village. A technocrat will come with a document. Yes. He'll come and tell you, it is your land, your ancestral land. But there is a law that everything, anything beneath the land doesn't belong to the chief. It's for the state. And the minister will write something, chief director will write something, they will lead them to your palace and authorize you to give them the land. You see, it's something that ought to be reviewed. So if I'm a chief and I know I cannot fight with the politicians, you get yourself involved. That is the song of the day. We are not corrupt. But because of the trend, you have to get yourself involved for you not to lose something precious from your community. So, it now goes back to the educationist. Try as much as you can and add a little of our tradition and our culture to whatever you teach the children. My senior will add a bit to it.
I will only say, let your students also be closer to the traditional settings. There are a lot they can learn from us. We've all been to schools, but when we became traditional leaders, we saw there were a lot that we had to learn to be part of them. And I feel our young ones also need to learn, because you wouldn't know where you will be one day. I was always saying, nobody within my family can come close to tell me that they were going to make me a chief. But when the time came, I did not have a say. I didn't. So you don't know where you'll be one day. There are a lot of blacks who think being within the traditional setting makes you a devil. That we are worshipping gods and other titles that you want to give to them. But this same white who brought you what you feel is good ended up taking you away and using you as slaves. The same people. During those days, you will see people build a house and the house may not even have a door. It will just be a mat that will be hanging over there and nobody will go and steal from the other. Now you build buildings and it's like prison. Everywhere, metals. Still, armed robbers get inside. Is what we are facing now what we want to be in every time? It's better to accept who you are. If you want to be a white man, then we better change your color too. And be like them. Learn to be an African. That is what God made you. That is what we are, and we can't change it. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I must say that we are very, very glad to have our guests here who have helped us understood the intersection that exists between now we would call the indigenous setting of debate and the contemporary setting of debate. At this point, I'm sure the entire group would want to say a huge thank you to you. And so on their behalf, I am extending that thank you to you. And I also want to thank Mr. Jamie. In fact, without you roving this mic, I'm sure that our communication would have worked out well. So thank you very much for also helping us on that technical setting as well. On this note, this is where we end the panel discussion. The team of drummers would help us and then would leave the stage and end the program. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you, Nananom. And then thank you to Professor and then the historian as well. So, I hope we learned something from the panel discussion. We've been able to explore that particular intersection of the contemporary context and the traditional context. It was a very educative panel discussion. Thank you so much. Please, let's give it up for them. They did very well. So somebody drew my attention, Anastasia actually, that I didn't mention my name. So my name is Ida Blankson, and I'm from Takrady Technical University. Good. And I also want to add that the beautiful artwork that you see, and all the artworks that you see in the groups, in all the groups that are circulating around and all of that, all those artworks was done by Seed Graphics. His number is 059-678-2822. So if you need any beautiful artwork, I mean the blend of the colors, you can just know that this is professionalism. So Seed Graphics, you can contact him if you need any artwork of that sort. At this juncture, we'll take the vote of thanks from UCCDS President Aliyah Huda Sakib. Please let's welcome her.
Good afternoon to everyone. Even though I'm not a Ghanaian, but I've been here long enough to adapt to a lot of the traditions of Ghanaians. So I'm also going to start with an apology. Okay. So the basic thing I'm going to apologize on is that if I'm mentioning your name and I don't pronounce it properly, I apologize for it. It's not intentional at all. So, as we come to the close of this opening ceremony, I would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to all those who have made this occasion a success, especially the dignitaries. Nana Beni Amwa, Omankrado of Ogwa Traditional Area, Nana Kojo Abaka the Fifth, Chief of Eswecher and Anto Eswecher, and Anko Biahin of Ogwa Traditional Council, Prof. Daniel Apak, the Dean of Students of UCC, Prof. Kobina Safu Kantanka, Dean of Students of Faculty of Arts UCC and the Patron of the UCCDS, Prof. De Valera NYM Boche, Department of History and Diplomacy, Dr. Austin Lugutera, Director of Sports and Wellness, Mr. Augustin Amisare, Senior Assistant Registrar of UCC Sports Department, Sports Directorate, and Madam Catherine Asare Frimpong, the Principal Organizer. I'm extremely grateful to all of you for taking time out of your precious time and gracing this occasion with your presence. But a special thanks also goes to all the schools that are present here. UCCDS, UGDS, KNUST, UBIDS, ATU, TTU, all of you, I thank you so much for coming here to make a mark. I would also like to acknowledge the media team and the media sponsors, the Radio Central, TV UCC, ATL FM, and Metro TV. Next, I would like to thank the ORCOM and everyone working hard towards the success of this program. But most importantly, help me appreciate yourselves, all the participants and the general public, by a huge round of applause. But the first thanks that I should have given to is God Almighty, who made all of us come here and kept us in good health to be here, and helped all the organizers, all the dignitaries, and all the students to make this occasion a success. So, with that, may GUDC Ogwaman 2024 be great.
Thank you so much, Aliyah. We'll take the closing remarks from the Dean of Students of UCC, Professor Daniel Apak.
MC, I thought the chair of the occasion would have been giving the closing remarks, but well, Nana has waved me on to continue. Nana Chair, the dignitaries present, students, I think we have all learned. I have learned a lot. I will say that as we go, let us reflect on the discourse that has just begun. We have a lot to do as young minds. We have been brainwashed in so many instances that we need to go back to our values. We can all ensure that Ghana, Africa, for that matter, becomes the Africa that we all want it to be. So on this note, I once again want to welcome all of you to the University of Cape Coast. I pray and hope that these 6 days of our stay here will be very memorable, that we will leave here better than we came. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Dean. Before we take the closing prayer, Jonathan would give us a few announcements, and then we take the closing prayer and continue with the day.
So I'm simply going to outline what would happen for the rest of the day. Moving forward, once we have the drummers walk out, our special guest, would appreciate that all other people please remain seated as our guests move out. There would also be a public speaking session, but we promise you that there would be lunch before that session. We have currently reached out to the caterers and we are told that your lunch is en route, and so we'll get you that as well. But also in addition, it's a coastal vibe here in Cape Coast, and so there's a special coconut session and coast vibe experience. Yes. And so when you move out after our special guests have left, right outside the auditorium, right outside this building, yes, there's style vibes, at least on that organic level, yes. So please do well to enjoy yourselves. And also to our special guests, there is a special arrangement that would also have you as well. And so right from here, our volunteers would move you to the conference room. There would be a special bus to move you for that special refreshment as well. And then moving on, all other communications would follow. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as our guests move out first after closing prayer, and then all other conversations would continue at the Sandwich Lecture Theatre. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. So, Baba Abdul Malik Isifu would give us the closing prayer. He's from Amstead. He's the only person that came from Amstead. Yes. Let's welcome him.
Thank you very much. Please let's be in the mood of prayer. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We thank God Almighty for making this particular gathering a successful one. We continue to extend our gratitude to Him for bringing us to this particular location safely. As we continue with this particular championship, which we hope will be a memorable one, we supplicate to Him to continue to guide us throughout the championship and then protect us from any anomalies that may come our way. We continue to count on Him to protect us from any other thing that may go wrong within this particular championship, as is a particular human institution with a lot of interaction. With this, we continue to supplicate that the Almighty guide us through this particular championship. Allahumma stajib du'a'ana washfil maradana warham maratana subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين.
All right, thank you so much, Malik. So, yes. So the dance team would lead the dignitaries out. After that, we would stay and then have the rest of the announcement.